There are 4,218 PS2 games, and I've got to beat every one of them. I've got to own the game because I'm playing on the original hardware, but I've beefed it up using a RetroTink 5X, some component cables, and more to come soon. Can I do this before I die of old age? I hope so. GTA San Andreas was released in 2004 and is smack dab in the middle of all PS2 GTA releases. Hosting an enormous cast of characters, some of them with recognizable voices, the game is loosely based on a few different real-life events. All of this is tied together with an incredible story of crime, violence, death, and betrayal. The 90s oozes from the California-adjacent state of San Andreas, and the picturesque backdrops and haze give the game a dramatic and familiar feel. I cannot wait to see it through. This was my first time playing Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. For some reason, I missed it when I was younger. I don't know why, but I did. And I'm sad I did because how ridiculous of a game is this? I enjoyed this game so much, I almost couldn't pull myself away to go finish videos I had been working on for a while during playing this. It's really hard to do because this game is just so much fun. I enjoyed almost every single moment of this game, save for a couple small things. And honestly, if those are the only things that are bothering me about this game, we've got a masterpiece on our hands. And I know a lot of people would love to hear that, so there you go. You got to hear that I absolutely love this game, and it's probably the best game I've played so far, aside from Growlancer 2. So I guess we're going to talk about this crazy game. At the beginning of the game here, there are a lot of tutorial missions, at least that's what I'd call them, kind of showing you what you can do in the game and all the different activities there are, so I won't go over those missions specifically. Instead, I'll use this time to maybe go over a synopsis of the story real quick, and then just talk about some of the mechanics in the game while showing some footage behind it, and then we'll get into it once we get into some missions that have some meat to them. Carl Johnson, or CJ, lived in Grove Street with his mom, his brother Sean, who also goes by Sweet, his brother Brian, and his sister Kendall. He had two childhood friends that they all grew up with, Big Smoke and Ryder. Those are not their names, but there's names that you'll know them by throughout the whole game. And they joined the Grove Street gang when they were very young, and as they grew up, they finally became respected members of the gang, including his brother Sean, who is called Sweet, becoming the leader of that gang eventually. This was not a safe, leisurely life though, and it involved a lot of violence, and eventually Brian died, probably due to some gang-related things. And CJ did not stop his death. Apparently he had a chance to, but he didn't, which then made him feel terrible, so he left. He spent a total of 5 years in Liberty City, which is where Grand Theft Auto 3 takes place, until one day Sweet calls him and says, hey, you need to come to Mom's funeral, she is gone. CJ does eventually agree, but the second he arrives back home, he's accosted by two police officers who are absolutely corrupt, Tenpenny and Pulaski. They spend pretty much the rest of the game coercing you to do things under the threat of going to jail for something you didn't do. So they take your money and your stuff and then send you on your way.
Oh shit, here we go again.
The first person we meet back at his house is Big Smoke, and he says, hey, we know that your mom was killed in the drive-by, we're gonna figure out who did it, don't worry. And then he meets back up with his brother Sweet and his sister Kendall and his other friend Ryder. They all get together and talk about the fact that the Grove Street gang is just not what it used to be. They split off into 3 separate little factions and are being constantly harassed by the other 2 gangs in Los Santos, the Ballas and the Vagos. The first several missions has the gang questioning both your loyalty and your skills since you've been away for so long. They even make fun of our driving, which it does say in the synopsis that he was a car thief in Liberty City, which means that he had to have been driving cars for a while. I don't know why they make fun of me for driving, but maybe it's a crack at the player for being a bad driver. Our overall goal, though, is to reunite the 3 small factions that used to be the Grove Street gang, and then take over all the territory we can to be the biggest gang in Los Santos. During the first few missions, we get a chance to give ourselves a haircut and change our clothes, and this is something you can do at any time in the game. Another really helpful mechanic is mantling. Carl can actually grab onto things and pull himself up, something that Grand Theft Auto 3 and Vice City desperately needed because of how often you needed to go on top of buildings or get over fences. You just couldn't. Jumping was practically useless in those games. However, in this game, you can climb on pretty much anything that CJ can reach as he jumps.
I'll have 2 number 9s, a number 9 large, a number 6 with extra dip, a number 7, 2 number 45s, 1 with cheese, and a large soda.
After quite a few introductory missions, I would say the first mission you have your own kind of freedom in is Sweet's Girl, where you must stop some gang members from your own gang, kind of. It's one of the little factions shooting at Sweet. They're probably just upset about a lot of the things that have been going on, and they just want to do family on family gang stuff. So you have to go save Sweet and the girl that's with him. It's a pretty simple mission. You drive up. I just did a drive-by shoot and then ran over him and shot the last guy. It's pretty simple. Drove back home, and then we get the next mission, which is about Caesar, your sister's boyfriend. Sweet does not like him, and even though it's really clear that she can handle herself and the fact that Sweet is a little bit of a hypocrite, he wants you to follow her and make sure she's going to be okay. Sure, we'll do that. We go to pick up a car at the garage that is more in line with the cars that they own, which are cars with hydraulics under the wheels. We go see him, and we actually get to do this really cool mini game where we use the hydraulics on our vehicle in time to like a Guitar Hero thing. I don't know why they do this and how many more times you can do this, but I only do it this one time in the car. It's fun, I guess. It's not too hard, and I guess it's another cool minigame you can do. Regardless of this, Caesar is now friends with me, which is great because he's actually here the whole rest of the game, and we're good friends for the rest of the game. Anyway, our next mission is to pick up our friend who is in jail and he's finally getting out. His name is OG Loke, which is not his real name, but that's what he's known for the rest of the game. He is really upset because immediately out of prison, his cellmate stole his rhyme book or something like that, and he's pissed, so he wants us to go kill him. And that's exactly what we do. We end up going to this guy's house. OG Loke and I jump on a motorcycle and we gun him down on the streets of Los Santos. I accept the next mission from OG Loke from his new job at this little burger joint, and he wants me to steal some speakers because he is going to be a rap star now that we've gotten revenge on his cellmate for stealing his rhymes. So we have to go down to the beach and we find this van with a bunch of big speakers. However, the only way to get into the van is to do a dance, and the same kind of mini game from when we did the car hydraulics is here too, except that we're dancing, and instead of using the analog stick to move up, down, left, and right, we use the face buttons, which is fine, that's fine. And this one is really easy too. You just kind of time it up, and once you get enough score, you can get in the van for some reason, and then you steal it. And that's it. You take the van back and you have the speakers now. I decide to meet up with Big Smoke next, and as I do, out of his house come the police officers Tenpenny and Pulaski that have been in there talking to Smoke, and Smoke says such. He's like, they're trying to get me to talk, but I don't tell them shit. But this is a little bit more important than you think later on. This mission is actually very easy and very simple. We try and go buy some weed from these guys on the street here, and Big Smoke is just not, he's treating them bad, and then they are mad, so he goes up and hits one of them with a bat. Well, he's too heavy and like out of shape to chase after him, so you used super sprint and sprint after one of the gang members that got away. You kill him, and that's it. He pretty much doesn't shoot at you, nothing else happens. It's really more about the story in this one. I decided to go back to Big Smoke and see what he's up to, and this might be a familiar mission to a lot of people, as it's something of a meme now, I think, the wrong side of the tracks, where we have to ride a motorbike and let Big Smoke shoot some dudes on top of a train. And everyone said good luck, and I started the mission, and yeah, you get on a motorbike and you've got to drive alongside a train while Big Smoke shoots at 4 gang members on top of the train. I actually happened to do it the first time, and I honestly still liked the mission. It was fun, and I do wish he would have shot at them better. That's probably why people have trouble with the mission. You've got to drive next to this train really closely. You can easily get hit by cars or people or even the train itself, and if he's not shooting accurately enough, how the hell are you supposed to get those guys off the top of the train? You've got to follow it for so long. So eventually he does kill them, and that's it. We go back to his house, and big meme mission is over. I head back home and notice Ryder actually has a mission for us, and this time he says he's found someone who has a bunch of guns, this old army vet, and he has these crates around his house. However, the only way to get to them is if we go at night and sneak around in his house. This is kind of a little bit of a tutorial. You learn how to sneak around. You just got to go in this guy's house at night, grab a crate, walk out, put it in the back of the truck, go back in, sneak, and grab 3 crates total, and then you drive the truck back. It's a really simple mission. Next, I check back in with Caesar, and he has a car race for me. Of course, it's an illegal street car race, but who cares? This one is not tuned to be too difficult, so I beat it pretty quickly, about a minute 35, and that's it. Mission over. I meet back up with Ryder, and even though we just got some weapons, it doesn't matter because Tenpenny and Pulaski, the corrupt police officers, come back to harass us. And they tell us that there's a train with a bunch of ammo that's made an unscheduled stop, and he wants us to go get the ammo for ourselves. Most likely, the Ballas and the Vagos know about this as well, and the Ballas do. They know about it. So as we go to get the ammo off the train, we are immediately ambushed by the Ballas, and we have to fight our way out of this sticky situation. Once we do, the train starts back up, and CJ gets aboard, but the other guys don't. Instead, we stand on the back of the train and throw ammo crates out by using the L1 button. You can kind of like get some power behind your throw and toss it, and you have to have Ryder catch it and put it in the car. And you need to do this several times until you have enough ammo, then you can get off the train. Big Smoke then moves over in the car and lets us drive. That way we have something else to do in the last part of the mission, to a paint and spray, where we get sprayed up up, and then the cops don't know who we are, and we've successfully completed the mission. Ryder's thirst for guns cannot be satiated, so we head over to the National Guard depot, where we steal crates of weapons from them, and we kill some of them too, which is so nice of us. So the whole idea of this mission is to get in a truck, drive over, and we actually use a forklift. We drive over and grab boxes and put them into the back of this truck. The whole time Ryder is holding off National Guard members, but he cannot do it by himself. Apparently we have to do everything, so we have to get out of the forklift and help him every single time he's getting shot at, otherwise he will die. I actually had a little bit of trouble with this mission, mostly because of being unlucky. As I started it, yeah, it was hard. I didn't realize I needed to get out and help Ryder. I thought Ryder was going to do it himself, but he can't. Then after that, every time I'd get the truck close to the end, I would flip it, or it'd get blown up, or I get yanked out of the car. It was just really sad, but I did end up beating it at about 4 tries. I head back around to Big Smoke's house, who tells us about his cousin and some Russians, and how he doesn't really like Russians, which is so nice of him. But this mission is a little bit longer, and it's got a lot of gunfights, both on foot and on the back of a bike. We start in a building, move outside of the building, fighting lots and lots of guys, eventually getting on the back of a motorbike. This time, we're not driving. Big Smoke is. We now have an unlimited ammo in our Uzi, and we shoot at different cars, motorbikes, and trucks as they try and stop us from getting away. We waste so many dudes. And this is probably as good a time as ever to talk about the gunfights in this game, because gunfighting and shooting is a little different than the past GTA games. In fact, this is a very refined version of the Grand Theft Auto Vice City aiming and shooting, which didn't really have the greatest aiming and shooting. Number 3 and Vice City just were not that great when it came down to shooting large groups of enemies. Vice City was better than 3, but San Andreas is the pinnacle where they figured out what to do. They started to figure out how to have you do gunfights. But here we have a new lock-on system, which admittedly is better, although I do have a few issues with it here and there. But you also have free aim, and when you free aim, you can use the right analog stick to put your crosshairs wherever you want. This makes it so that you can duck and stand up and fire at people behind cover, and it's really easy to do, especially with just, any weapon. It doesn't matter because you have way more control than you did before. This makes fighting groups of enemies much more fun, easier to do, and now this game is full of those types of missions. The only thing that I had a problem with is locking on itself sometimes has issues. I feel like it locks onto the wrong person, or it never locks on at all. It acts like I'm trying to aim with the right analog stick. All I do is hit R1 to aim in at the person, and you're supposed to hit the right analog stick and move it around to get free aim. If you don't, you're supposed to just have immediate auto aim and it locks on, but it didn't always do that for me. Sometimes it was just the way my character was facing, or maybe there was multiple people in the game didn't know who to select. But it was never so bad that I died and lost missions because of it. It was really just more of an annoyance. Now, there was one more thing that I find interesting about games nowadays. When you are aiming locked in on someone, or even with your crosshairs, usually when you walk backwards, your character walks backwards and continues to face the way they aim. In a lot of games nowadays, whenever you aim in, that happens. But in this game, it doesn't. Instead, your character's whole body turns around, and then instead of firing at who you've locked onto, you fire straight up in the air because your character's not facing them, which makes sense. But really, I just wanted my character to walk backwards a little bit so that I could maybe get further away from them while I was shooting. However, that's just not how it works. You turn around and you can't fire at them because you're not facing them. I also have to say that the pacing of this game so far has been fantastic. This mission makes it pretty easy for you to shoot a lot of people, which is helpful in learning how to do that. If you don't have the chance to learn and you're just gunned down immediately, there's no way for you to learn how to fight all these people. And this mission does a great job letting the enemies shoot at Big Smoke over you sometimes, making it easier for you to pop up and fight. They did a great job of pacing. I have to say that. Now for something a little quieter. We go visit OG Loke, and he asks us to go find this rapper Mad Dog in his mansion and steal his rhyme book. He wants to use it to get famous himself. Obviously, Mad Dog's doing pretty well if he has a mansion. So we have to sneak into this dude's mansion, and we actually use some of the mechanics from Manhunt, Rockstar's previous game before this one came out, and that uses the shadows to keep you from being seen by people. In fact, it uses the same mechanic. If you're in the shadows, your little icon on the minimap becomes blue, and in Manhunt, your icon on the screen becomes blue to let you know you're in shadows, and no one can see you. It's just simple. No one can see you in the shadows unless they're literally right on top of you, and that really doesn't ever happen. In fact, this sadly is the only mission that we really use this in. See, there's shadows all over this mansion. It's like not well lit, I don't know why, but we go through the mansion trying to avoid people, although we do kill a couple, Manhunt style yet again, until we find the rhyme book, and then we just sneak back out. We bring the rhyme book back to OG Loke, and he says, well, thanks for that, but I'm also upset because the guy who just stole from, his manager is talking shit about me, so you need to go kill him, and that's what we do. However, to do this, we steal the car that's going to go pick him up, this manager, and instead of taking him where he needs to go, once once we pick him up, we get taught how to jump out of a moving car. So we ride down this dock and just bail out while him and whoever else is in the car with me go dive right into the water. And I guess they're just dead. I don't know. I can swim in this game now. Oddly enough, you can swim in this game finally. I was wondering when we could finally swim in the Grand Theft Auto series. And these people, I guess, are just dead. I don't know. Well, now that he's got this rhyme book and he's made some cool new rhymes, he's famous or something. He thinks he is. So he offers to let us come to a party that he's hosting where he's going to be singing some of his songs. So we have to get a haircut and change our clothes. And once we get there, right after we get there, the Ballas attack in like an enormous number. And we have to fight through 3 waves of them. One on the ground behind cars, one up on a bridge, and then just from every direction on Grove Street. And you've got to be really careful because, like I said, there's a lot of them. And they all come at you at the same time in a wave. And it's not just a couple guys at a time. This is the real deal, man. And it is pretty tough because they're very accurate and you don't really have a lot of the weapons that you get later that are really accurate. Plus, you do level up the stats when you use guns. By this point, you probably don't have a very high level using any of the guns you have. So while you can kill them and deal with this mission just fine, it will become easier later when your skills have improved so much that you can begin moving around while aiming, which that is what I needed. And that seems to have put an end to Loke's requests for you. So instead, we finally go to the one place on the map I really didn't want to go to, Tenpenny's missions, which I knew was going to happen, and it's just what you have to do. But he wants us to go throw some Molotov cocktails into this like apartment building, and someone in there is supposed to die, so you're not supposed to let him even be found. Like, his remains need to be charred beyond all belief. So he just wants you to burn the whole place down. And during this, there's actually a woman who screams out, and you go inside of the burning building after you've thrown Molotov cocktails into it, and you get a fire extinguisher. You put out some fires by shooting at the base of the fire. Gotta remember that because I forget. And then you save her. You take her out and get her in a car and take her home, and now she's your girlfriend. Just like that. All you have to do is cause a fire, save a woman from it, and she's your girlfriend. Tenpenny isn't done with us though, and he wants us to stop a deal between the Ballas and another faction for weapons. He says that he doesn't want either us or the Ballas to have an advantage over one another because he wants us to do his job for him or something to that effect. He's super corrupt, bro. So he wants us to go stop this deal, and I guess that way we're still on even ground with the Ballas. And so we go do that in this crowded warehouse, and I've got to shoot around corners, which is admittedly pretty fun. I really like the shooting in this game. Like I said, it's well done, and with the third-person camera walking around corners, aiming in, it's just a good time. It's really solid, and it's always enjoyable whenever a mission has us going around doing this kind of fights. I chase this guy down after I find him. He gets in his car, but I kick him out, and then I do this wonderful thing to get rid of him. The next mission is given to you by no one, supposedly. The game just kind of explains to you through text and a couple static shots that you need to take over territory in town for the Grove Street gang, and you need to take it from the Ballas. It also tells you that you can now go to ammunition to buy weapons and armor, but it's just odd that no one gives this to you. You get some text from the game, but there's no character. And then you just go. So this is interesting. So this is a different mechanic in this game. There are territories all over Los Santos, just in this town at least. And there's green, yellow, and purple. Green is us, the Grove Street gang. Yellow are the Vagos, and purple are the Ballas. So what we need to do is we need to find a purple location, and whenever we're in that on the mini-map, down at the bottom left here, if we are inside of that and we kill at least 3 to 4 Balla gang members who are just on the sidewalk, then we'll start a gang war. During that gang war, we have to survive about 3 waves of enemies, and if we can do that, we then gain the territory from them, and it turns green on the mini-map. Now, they can fight us for it later on because, they can come over and disrupt our gang territorial, whatever. But there's a couple ways to do it. You can actually just go save the game, and for some reason, they stop attacking your territory. So the best idea is to, if you see them attacking your territory, just go save the game and forget about it because it just seems to be... I'm not sure about the gang wars. I don't think they're bad. I don't know why they've included them in the game. It's an interesting idea, but it's not really expanded upon. So it's a lot of fun to do. It's just, I'm not really sure why they have it like this. It doesn't even feel like it's that significant overall in the game world. Back on Grove Street, Sweet has a mission for us. He wants us to kill some high-ranking Ballas members at this funeral for a guy we killed earlier. So we're gonna go to this dude's funeral and just murder all these people, which is wonderful. It's exactly what we do. And before we do, there are some gang members walking around Grove Street. If they have a green shirt on or a green jacket or green in some way, usually you can recruit them. You have some orders that you can give to them, and you need to lock onto them and talk to them and see if they want to join your gang. And you can have a little gang started. And right now you can have 2 members with you, including Sweet, which makes it 3. So you have a little gang of 4, and you take them in a 4-door car and you go over and you do what you need to do. Sweet finally decides it's time to reunite all the Grove Street families that splintered off so long ago. And to do that, we're gonna meet them and talk it out. Now that we have this whole gang going on, we actually have some more territory, and CJ's back, so he's helping. So we've got a lot of stuff. And so they meet up in the parking lot of this motel, they go inside, and while we're waiting, the police raid the place. It's enormous. Now, Smoke and Ryder take off in the car, they're the getaway drivers, they just take off and leave us. We stay and fight and help our brother by killing so many, just everyone, just killing everyone. We start in the parking lot, we go into the building, people are popping out of rooms. This is a really exciting part of the game, and a really good job again. Just how are they making these missions so fun? They're just, and the flavor of the missions, it's really neat. Yeah, you're shooting the same guns, shooting the same guys, just like any other game. But the flavor, as I always say, if the flavor is interesting, then the gameplay just builds upon that. And that's exactly what's happening here. We get a different layout than the building where we fought the Russians, and then the motorbike ride afterwards. This one also goes to a car ride, except now you're in first person and you're shooting out the back of a car at a bunch of cop cars. And it's way more serious now. This is like a real mission where you can lose pretty easily. It's not teaching you how to fight a lot of guys. You learned, so you should be able to do it now. Apparently, this meeting has actually worked because we have a lot more members in the gang now, and we head over to Sweet's place, our place, and Sweet is talking to a bunch of them, talking about how we're about to roll on all of the balls. So I guess we're about to go have a big old fight. We have enough people and we're gonna go do something big. However, this mission is super important. We get 2 big sad newses. It's terrible. The first thing is Caesar calls us on our cell phone and says, you gotta come here, man. You gotta come here right now. So we make a detour and go see what he wants because, well, we're about to do this big war. Well, it's even worse than we thought. Ballas walk out of this building, and followed closely behind them is Smoke and Ryder. That means that they are stabbing us in the back. They've turned. And then we see Tenpenny walk out. Everyone is together, including Tenpenny. He's orchestrated this whole thing. But as we see them come out, we know that they are stabbing us in the back now. They open up a garage, and we see a green Saber. A very specific car, yes. This was the very car that performed the drive-by that killed his mother. The drive-by was not meant for her. It was meant for Sweet, who at the time had just become the leader of the Grove Street gang. This is actually something CJ has been wanting to know for some time since the game started, and Caesar actually found it for us. Obviously, that's really helpful because now we know what's going on, but this also means that Sweet and all the gang members that just went to do the big war against the Ballas are walking into a trap. Smoke and Ryder have ratted us out. We now have to get over there and try and help him before he's killed. Luckily, we're able to make it to Sweet in time, even though he has been shot, and we hold off waves of Ballas until the police show up. Both of us are arrested. Sweet is taken to the hospital in the prison, and then we wake up in the middle of nowhere in the back of Tenpenny and Pulaski's car. We are now banned from re-entering Los Santos for a while, although I think we can. I never really tried. But we are not supposed to come back. We're not supposed to contact Smoke, nothing like that. We are now just going to do what Tenpenny says we should do. Although there are some other things on the side we'll be doing. In fact, we'll be doing a lot. Although the overarching goal is to eventually appease Tenpenny and help Smoke get out of prison. Although, you know, this guy is pretty corrupt. Will he actually do that? I don't think we have a choice. We got to do something. And the first thing he asks us to do is go take care of a guy who has enough evidence to put Tenpenny and Pulaski in jail. Probably because of all the corrupt shit they're doing. So we have to go take care of him by killing him and taking a picture of his dead body. Now, before we do this mission, I decide to watch a police chase that unfolds in front of me with this red car and these 2 police cruisers. And it is unintentionally hilarious because we watch them round a corner and the police officers actually get stuck. This guy drives away and I'm thinking, well, I guess he's gone. He made it out. The police officers got stuck. But he goes around the block and comes back and just, I don't know if he's asserting his dominance or if he's like wagging his ass at him or what, but this guy's like, look at me, you can't get me, and then drives past. Then we meet him about 3 or 4 more times, still in this small part of town. The cops are still chasing him. Everywhere I go, this guy is just fucking flying through red lights, running into shit, and the cops just can't catch him. Anyway, on to the mission. We go out into the middle of these woods and find this cabin that Tenpenny was talking about. And there's this dude standing in the cabin by himself with about like 4 or 5 guards walking around the house. Now I sneak in and I'm supposed to take a picture of his dead body, but I just thought I was supposed to take a picture of him. I don't know why. So I took a picture of him, snuck back out, and then thought, this is weird. Nothing happened. I feel like I'm doing something wrong. So I went back and realized I need to go kill him. I looked at the game briefing and it shows what Tenpenny asked me to do. And I realized I need to kill him. So I walk back in and I punch him and then I take a picture of him and then I flee. And I snuck inside this cabin twice and someone in the chat said, I didn't even know you could sneak in there without anyone seeing you. I did it twice and then killed him and took a picture. Shortly thereafter, we get a phone call from Caesar explaining to us that he wants to help protect us because things have gone to shit. And he says his cousin is someone who can help us. And and I'll be honest with you, I'm scared of his cousin. We meet Catalina. She is the main bad guy in Grand Theft Auto 3. That's his cousin. She's insane. She is so insane that even Carl is like not really wanting her shit sometimes. And the stuff that happens after these missions are done is just hilarious. So let's start with this one. The first thing we do is we meet her in a diner and she's trying to cut someone with a knife. Then she makes us immediately go to steal a tank of gas from a gas station. I mean, a literal, not just a tank sitting out in front of it. I mean, we get the front of a semi truck and grab the tank that fills the gas station up with gas. So it's a full premium tanker of gas. And we take it over to this lockup that she has, and then we get some money and she just leaves. It's time to meet back up with Tenpenny, who we find at this very obviously hippie's house, and he's smoking a bunch of weed from a big old bong. And this guy's name is Truth, and he's going to be someone we actually see for most of the rest of the game. Tenpenny just stands up and tells you about some shit and says, all right, pay him, which means that he didn't pay for his own weed. Fuck him. So this guy Truth says, well, you can pay me back after you do something for me, which, okay, sure, whatever, man. So we go steal, because this guy is a man of peace, he says. He wants you to steal a harvester, probably to harvest his stuff. And so you have to go over to the rival farm next to him, steal a big old harvester, and drive it all the way back to his house, where you then park it in his barn, and you then have the ability to pay him soon. So you don't get anything for doing the mission, you just get the ability to pay him. Next, we have 3 missions in a row from Catalina, the insane person. And we have to just take her to places and rob them. And this is really a way to get used to the countryside and all of these back roads and dirt roads and highways that take you between these little city areas. We actually kind of get a choice on which order we do them, but it doesn't matter. You must do all of them eventually. So the first one we do here is we go rob a betting house. So we go in and I have to throw some dynamite on this door and then blow it up. And then I got to throw some explosives on the safe and blow it up. Take the money and we get in a car and I've got to get her to a spray shop so that we can get the wanted stars off of us. Okay, I lied about the 3 Catalina missions in a row. Instead, I decided to go race some cars. Caesar calls me and says there's a car race. And actually this time it's a special mission because we meet someone important here. It's not really about the race. It's about the person we meet. Woozy Moo, who we call Woozy for the rest of the game. He's this blind guy who kind of runs things in a weird way. He's fairly nice, most of the time at least, especially to us. But he meets us and we do a car race and it's all out in the back country, so there's a bunch of dirt roads. It's a little difficult. You flip a lot. There's a spot through the farm where you jump over things, which is great. But in the end, I win. And he says that he does not mind losing to a man who pushes himself to the edge and then gives me his number to call him if we are ever in San Fierro, another city that we will reach soon. Okay, but now we go back to Catalina and apparently we have to do nasty stuff with her, which is exactly what happens for a little while. I don't know why it happened. But afterwards, then we go to rob this liquor store. And so it's a very interesting mission. So we go to rob a liquor store and these 4 guys on quads pull up and rob it first. So we kill one of the guys on their quads, take it, and then chase him down. Now, Catalina can shoot at him, although it's difficult because the quad drives a little squirrely, if you can imagine, just kind of like not staying on the ground very easily, and the turning is a little odd. It's not bad, but it's odd, and I'm not used to it. So I have to chase these guys down, and they keep splitting up, and I keep falling over. Eventually, we do complete the mission, and we get back with the money. The last mission with Catalina is us going to rob yet another bank, and this time I'm supposed to hold people up while she opens the safe herself. Now, I try my best to switch targets to a different person, because the game wants you to point your gun at everyone, like at least once or something, I don't know. But it wouldn't let me switch targets. I was trying super hard, and it just wouldn't let me. So the security guard pulled out his gun, I killed him, and so the police came over to get us, and she jumps on one of the police bikes, and I have to jump on one too. She leads us in a wild chase with me having to just kind of keep up with her, and once we're done, she gets on my bike and we drive her back to her house. And this entire time, this woman has been absolutely insane, and she says the weirdest shit and does the weirdest stuff, and now she's breaking up with me. I don't even know we were really together that much. We've been together for 4 missions. Okay, so we're broken up, and the next mission that comes available is another street race, except this time the street race is against her. But not just her. She's with someone else. She's with Claude from Grand Theft Auto 3. I just here we go, cameo. And you know what? It was easy because he doesn't talk, so there's no voice actor. So they just have him stand there being just as silent and weird as he was in Grand Theft Auto 3. And Catalina just speaks for him constantly. And he doesn't give a shit. We call her terrible names. We call each other terrible names. He just goes on. He just lives. I don't think he has feelings. I don't know. Anyway, we beat them in the race because, of course, we have to win. And these races are so much fun, man. They did such a good job with this whole fucking game, and I'm gonna keep praising it. I'm so sorry. But at the end, instead of giving us money or a pink slip like we're supposed to get when we win these races, she gives us the deed to a garage in San Fierro. Actually, that's the place that Woozy told us about. He said, if you're ever there, give me a call. Well, Well, now we need to head to San Fierro because we have a whole garage in our name now. Suddenly, I get a call from Truth asking me to come help him with something. So we go to his place and he's like, I got a bunch of stuff in the back of this van. We're going to need to take it with us. And as we're doing this and talking to him, a chopper appears out of nowhere and the police are actually after him now. They found his weed fields. So he gives us a flamethrower and we must torch all of it, I guess, so that we don't have any evidence left over. Although we don't have any hilarious antics like in Without a Paddle where the weed field gets torched and they get all high and stuff. Nope, that doesn't happen. We torch it successfully. Then I have to take out a chopper with a rocket launcher. I drive Truth all the way to the garage in San Fierro that we won just a mission to go from Catalina. Immediately after arriving at the garage, our sister Kendall, Caesar, Truth, and I all speak about what we should do with the garage. And we actually come to a decision. Truth knows some guys who are mechanics who can run this garage as kind of a front or just the fact that it's a real garage and we can actually fix cars and make some money. So he shows us where all three of these people are. One of them is named Zero and is voiced by David Cross, who is so hilarious. But he has some interesting missions later on that we'll get to. Anyway, we bring everyone back to the garage and our sister says, hey, there's something that we should be able to do to make more money, and that's to buy property. So now we can start going around and buying properties up. Now, we probably could before, but there was never enough money. So now that we're getting enough money to actually buy properties, it's just like in Vice City. Anytime you buy a property, it can generate cash depending on what it is, what it does, and it also has a threshold like 5,000, 8,000, all depends on what it is you buy. And some places are just safe houses, so you gotta be careful. I don't know if it really tells you, but around the map you'll find all these places to buy. I buy only a few places. I'm just gonna be honest with you. It's very few. This game does not require you to buy them, not anywhere near the same amount as Vice City. I think I bought a couple. I'm not sure if you have to or not, but it was pretty simple. And the only one that I bought for realsies is Zero's place so that I could do his side missions. Directly after this though, Tenpenny gives us a call and we have a weird conversation with him. Usually he's terrible to us, but he's pretty casual with us in this phone conversation. Anyway, he wants us to go get someone in trouble. It's a DA agent. And so he says you need to pretend to be a valet and park his car, but take it back and get drugs in it and then get him caught by the police. So we're going to put the drugs in, get back at a certain time, call the police, and he's going to get caught with all the drugs in his car. And that's exactly what we do. I get back to the garage and Kendall says, hey, the construction workers next to our building here have been catcalling me all day. So we decide it's time to go teach them a little respect. Also, then we can take their land and use it as property. So we go up and we steal a bulldozer and we ram down 5 of their trailers. And once we do, the foreman comes out and hides in a porta potty to get away from it all. But we see him. So we push the porta potty with the bulldozer into a hole. And then we get a cement truck and fill the hole with cement, obviously killing him and sending a message. After I finish the mission, I get a call from one of the mechanics suggesting that I go to the driving school up the road to get better driving skills. But not because I'm a bad driver, but someone else mentioned it. Don't get mad at me. So CG is a little pissed at him. But we do go up to the driving school, and this is kind of cool. I really like this idea. We go to the driving school, and there's several different tests you can take, all with varying degrees of difficulty and things you have to do by driving a car. And they give you exactly what you need to do. They show you in their little video before you select it, and then do it yourself. And you can actually choose sometimes if you want the turns to be clockwise or counterclockwise. You get all these different cars to try, and as you do it, your driving skill raises anyway, meaning that you can control cars better, both yourself, your own skill, and in the in-game skill helping you get better, which is super cool. I don't know if you have to do this, but it was really fun and ended up being better anyway, because then it just felt better to drive cars after this. Caesar phones me up and tells me, hey, there's a bunch of dudes getting together to figure out how to bring in more drugs over to Los Santos, which is where I'm originally from, and all over actually. And so there's actually quite a few dudes who are doing this. And to make sure we know who it is, he wants us to go take some pictures of them as they go to this secret meeting. Well, we stand on a roof a little bit away and we take pictures of everyone who stops, and we have to make sure we get their face in the photo. One of them happens to be Ryder, our friggin' childhood friend, so of course we're pissed. After this, I get a call about some dude who's carrying some money after a drug deal. And these are things that are gonna happen every so often. They'll ask you if you want to do this mission where this guy is driving away on a motorcycle with money. You can reply positively or negatively. Positively obviously has you following him and getting the money back. And this guy is about $1,500 or so, maybe give or take. And a lot of the times when you're driving after him, he'll start dropping the money. I'm not sure if it's to try and stop you or what, but he just does. I think the longer it takes you to catch this guy and get the money from him, the less you get. So you just need to make sure you get to him as quick as possible. However, on the map you can see he's really far away, so you've really got to get something fast and find a good route to get to him. I only accept a couple of these throughout the game, and they're helpful in a way, but it just takes a long time. So unless you think it's worth it to get some extra money, I just say continue on with the game. I didn't have to do any more of these, and I was fine money-wise. Now that we have those photos, we actually contact contact Woozy to see if he knows who they are, and they turn out to be this syndicate, and they're doing a bunch of crazy stuff, and we need to get all of them. We're just taking out all of them. So he tells us who they are, and the first person we go after is Jizzy, which is a wonderful name. But we go to Jizzy's club and we befriend him, hoping we can get close enough to figure things out. We go to his club and we just convince him on the spot that we're gonna help him with stuff. So he gives us a bunch of things to do in the next mission. There's like 4 things all in a row. It's an interesting mission, sure. So the first thing is he has us take this woman home. So we take her home, then we find this guy who's harassing one of his girls, it's one of his girls, and we kill him. Then we find out that one of his girls is being attacked by guys with guns. So we go save her. She gets out of there and he calls us the last time and says, hey, remember that first woman you dropped off? She's trying to get out of the game, and so you need to go kill her and the person she's with, who happens to be a pastor and is very hilariously voiced and has ridiculous dialogue. So we go and we blow him up. And this is a long mission. It's like a 20-30 minute mission just for all these things for him to do. So we really earn his respect though. The next mission has Jizzy talking to one of the other guys we took a photo of, and his name is T-Bone. They work together and they're not happy with each other. Jizzy thinks that he's being screwed out of an agreement they made, but it doesn't matter because in the end, this T-Bone guy gets a call and says that there's a shipment of drugs being ambushed. So we go over to check it out, and when we do, there's these guys on bikes, and there's like 8 of them, and they only have a package. You have to chase each of them down and get the package from them. Just pretty much killing them and running over the package gets it for you, I think. And that's it. You get 8 packages, you're done. I head back to Jizzy's club and find Jizzy speaking again with T-Bone. However, one of the other guys, the other guy we photographed, the guy that we didn't really know who his name was, is stuck in the back of a van. I don't know why he's in the van, but he's been captured, and so now we need to use his cell phone to track where he is. He's just going to tell us what he sees, and then we go to that location until eventually it leads us to the airport. We end up saving him out of the back of the van, and this character's name is Mike, and he's voiced by James Woods. So he's a very angry character. He's a very weird, crazy character. So prepare yourselves. He's an interesting one too. So we save him, we blow up the van, and then we get him out of there by going to a paint and spray and losing the heat. He tells us we did a good job, and we'll probably be hearing from him again. We get a call from Jizzy to meet somewhere. So we go there, and T-Bone is in the back of the car we get into while we're waiting. He chokes CJ out and says that he's working for someone else, and this isn't just about money. But CJ's like, no, man, it's just about money. And he just kind of laughs and lets it go. Torino walks over to the side of the car, gets in, and starts intimidating us next. They want us to go around and destroy these blockades, blocking the street so they can get a package through. So we just kind of grab a rocket launcher and grab this motorbike, zoom through the city, and blow up each of these roadblocks. There's guys up on the buildings, there's guys behind cars. You pretty much just spend most of the time shooting with the rocket launcher and then sniping people from far away. And once you do this, you complete the mission. When we get back to the garage, Tenpenny and Pulaski are both waiting for me in my office. And they say, hey, we need you to kill a journalist who's trying to investigate us. And then you also just need to kill a reporter, because why not? This mission is mostly driving, as you need to follow a train down the train tracks all the way back to Los Santos, which is pretty far away, for them to get out of the train, get in a taxi, and then they end up meeting on a pier. So we just follow them there, and once we get there and we see them together, we can snipe them, and mission's over. At this point, I finally have enough money to buy the property where we get Zero's missions. You have to get enough money to buy the property, and then he opens up his missions after a phone call. And his first one's called Air Raid. Apparently, Zero here won first prize in a science fair competition, and so this guy wants to kill him by sending in RC planes with little bombs on them. Now, he's trying to blow up these towers on top of this building, I think probably to actually just take his business out, but we have to stop them with a minigun. Now, I just want to say, yes, you may laugh at how bad my aim is, but I just sucked at this mission. I was so close to losing because these things bomb the towers and you have to stop them, and they get low on health and they break down, and once they're gone, all the planes then target the other towers. And so eventually you have one tower left, and that thing had like no health, and I barely beat it. If you're just joining us because you wanted to see how the mission supply lines went for me, then welcome, because this is the mission called Supply Lines. It's one of the hardest missions in the game, at least for a lot of people. Some people came in and asked about it and asked how I did. Now, this one took me a little bit to do, and this is why. The little model plane you must fly around flies like shit. And then you have a fuel limit, meaning that there's a time limit on top of how bad this plane handles. So here's the mission. You must find 5 different vehicles, all of them having people in them, and you must kill the people in each of the vehicles. You can destroy the vehicle if you want, it doesn't matter. But you must fly this thing around, and you have to do it in the time limit. Once the fuel runs out, it's done. So not only do you have to go kill these 5 people, but you must must fly it back to the building where you launched it, because that's just, they hate you and they want you to suffer. This mission is very difficult. It took me 12 tries total. Now this mission isn't terribly long, so that's helpful. And it's really not that bad. This was the worst mission in the game for me, I think. It's the one I repeated the most. And honestly, something like Grand Theft Auto 3's finale was really hard and really long, and then just every time you did it, it was a downer because you knew you were gonna have to redo the whole thing. Even the beginning part where you have no guns, you gotta pick one up off the ground. This one is quick. You restart right back at the beginning of the mission and you can complete it again. So you can get used to it pretty quick, which is nice. And honestly, if you are decent at flying the plane, once you get there, you can do it. I a lot of times took risks trying to move quickly because you do have a time limit. That fuel limit's low, so you need to move quick. And if you make one or two mistakes, suddenly you start to panic and you're like, I can't make it unless I do crazy shit, and it never works out. You've really just got to be accurate the first time, and that's what worked for me. The last one was me doing it the first time on each of them. I didn't have to worry about coming back around with the plane. I didn't miss anyone too badly, and I got back with just a little bit of fuel. So this is a very hard mission. I'd say it's the hardest one for me. All right, it is time to kill Jizzy, and we get a free silenced pistol from Caesar, which we don't use. It's a really weird mission. We're supposed to go to his club and sneak down to see him, but when I get to him, it always does a cutscene, and I must just fight my way out of the place anyway. I don't ever use the pistol, so I'm not really sure why they gave it to me. Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe there's another way to complete the mission. But at the very beginning of the mission, before you go into the club through the roof, someone told me to destroy his car outside. Apparently, this is helpful. And yes, it is. We make our way in after destroying his car. He runs out and we chase him. But instead of being able to get in his own car, which is fairly fast, he has to take a pizza delivery boy's little motorcycle, which is slower. I didn't know that, and that's a really cool little detail. Thank you for telling me. I'm glad that was it, because I would never have guessed to destroy his car. Maybe I would have after a couple times, maybe. But it was really cool as feature, like a little extra thing. So if you ever want to do it, do it. Anyway, we kill him by doing the put the car on top of him and shoot him in the head method. Take his phone, and the mission's over. Okay, it's time to do Zero's last mission, because once we do, we start passively earning money from this RC shop he runs. This mission is really unique, even more unique than most of the other missions we've done. This is done over almost like a tabletop game, except it's a little bit more realistic than your regular Warhammer 40,000 game. So what we do is we have a little helicopter that has a magnet on the bottom. Zero is going to drive a vehicle from our side of this little map to Berkeley's side, as this is who we're fighting. His whole aim is to stop him from getting his car to him. So we've got to help Zero by using this helicopter to drop bombs on little tanks that will blow up Zero's car, and picking up barrels, because Berkeley is using a helicopter to place barrels in the way of the car. So we have to move the barrels, and then we also have to take these long pieces of metal and make bridges for his car to go over. It's not necessarily a hard mission. You're not really in danger of dying, and you just have to figure out how to fly the chopper, pick all this stuff up, and where to go. Once you do, it's a pretty simple mission. Next, I do something a little strange. I jump into the water and I hang out there for half an hour, going under the water and losing all my breath and coming back up, because I'm going to raise my lung capacity for a mission I'll be doing later. So everything has a stat in this game, and if you go underwater and do that, you will raise your lung capacity and you can hold your breath longer. There's a mission that will have us holding our breath, and the more lung capacity we have, the easier the mission is. So this is just a convenient time to do it. It's almost like raising our driving level, because pretty much every other mission has us driving, and it's better to drive with a more stable car rather than having a low driving skill. So these skills really are helpful. We go back and say hi to Woozy, and we find out that he's actually some kind of triad leader, and it's supposed to surprise us, but Carl just takes it like nothing. So he's like, yeah, Woozy, what do you want to do? Woozy says, well, we need to go settle this dispute peacefully between these triad members who didn't show up to a meeting. So we go out to do that, and he still hasn't told us he's blind, but it's pretty clear this guy's blind. And so he just walks around and slams into stuff as we take him back here to get this problem figured out. And when we get there, we actually get attacked. Something bad is happening, and there's a bunch of guys who come up and attack us, and we've got to blow him up and kill him. And Woozy is walking around not able to see, so I really don't know what he's doing. We get in a car and we're chased down by these guys. Woozy's able to get out of the window and fire at them. I don't know how he knows where they are, but he does kill them. And then the most miraculous thing happens. Our car catches on fire, and I'm like, oh, we lose, because Woozy is going to blow up in the car, which is what usually happens. All throughout Vice City and number 3, if you had to have someone in the car with you and it catches on fire, there is pretty much a 100% chance they're going to die in that explosion, because they won't get out and get away from it quick enough. So this game is a little different. The second I catch on fire, I get out of the car. Woozy gets out of the car and runs away from it, living and letting me complete the mission when we get another car. So thank you, buddy. Woozy introduces us to another triad leader who wants us to obtain a package package for him. We must go to the airport, grab a car with the package in it, and then escape, because another rival gang is trying to get that package as well, or some bikers. I'm not really sure who they are, but they try and stop you. So when you get in the car, they pull these trucks up in front of the ways that you can escape. Once you do find your escape, you just get away from them and you can park the car and the mission will be over. When we come back with the package, this triad leader says that they were followed here and they're going to be assassinated by these biker dudes because they're pissed about the package. So CJ suggests that he will take a decoy car and draw them away from the building, then let them leave out the back, making it safely. So that's what we do. We get in a car that we make it seem like he gets in the back of, this triad leader. And then all these bikers start following us as I'm driving, and we've got to drive through checkpoints, really just so that you drive for a while. And once you get to the end, you don't actually have to kill anyone. Once you get to the end, they realize it's a decoy and leave, and the guy gets out safely, so the mission's over. Woozy finally feels comfortable enough to tell us he's blind. So he's like, all right, well, I have this thing we need to do, and it's in the water, and I can't do it because I'm blind. And Carl says that he'll do it, but now that he's revealed he's blind, Carl says this.
No shit.
This is the mission that's going to help us having a large amount of lung capacity, because we need to be in the water and we need to swim under this very large tanker. This is a very odd mission. There's a bunch of boats in this harbor that's around this big boat, okay? So these small ones. And when you're underneath the water, you're safe, but the second you pop up, those other boats can spot you. So you must pop up and don't move. Apparently, if you're not moving, even if they're shining the light on you, they can't see you. So you got to take a nice slow approach. And I got to the tanker and then I went underneath the water underneath it to get to the other side quickly. That probably was what they wanted me to do, and that's actually really helpful. I don't know if it's necessary, but I definitely found it to be more helpful to have higher lung capacity so I could get past these ships. So once you get up under the boat, you've got to plant a bug for Woozy. He wants to know what this tanker's up to. So when we get on board, I kind of make a little shortcut around these crates by jumping. I get down to the bottom of the boat after killing a couple dudes, plant the bug, and then I have to go back. So I dive over the side of the ship and I have to swim back all the way to shore. Well, I guess they wanted you to really, take this mission seriously. Back to Woozy once again, we really get to see their friendship blossom, which is a weird way to say this, but I mean, it's honest. Like, these two actually have a friendship, and Woozy even mentions that he's enjoyed having his friendship and loyalty, and Woozy is a nice person comparatively to pretty much everyone else. He's like genuinely nice sounding, and he accepts Carl for who he is, and they work together really well, and we continue to do this, which is kind of cool. Like, I think this relationship between CJ and Woozy was really well done. It feels maybe not as natural because everyone else is so angry and everyone's backstabby, but it makes sense. Like, there should be at least one or two people out there who aren't like that, and we finally found one. This mission is also pretty big. These missions are starting to get longer and more involved, which is really great because this is also another fun mission. We must start by flying on a helicopter, shooting guys on top of the barge. I believe this is the barge that we bugged. I'm not sure, but we shoot these guys and halfway through, we get shot by a rocket launcher. Apparently, you can't stop it. So you fall down onto the ship and you must climb around the crates, shooting dudes, watching around corners, until eventually I find some refugees in one of the containers at the bottom of the ship. They tell me that the snakehead who's up on the bridge tricked them and we need to go take care of him. So we climb all the way up and show him how much of a Shaolin warrior we are with our katana. I jump over the side of the ship and get on top of one of these dinghies and the mission's over. Apparently there's going to be a meeting between the last three guys that we're looking for after we killed Jizzy. We need to kill T-Bone, we need to kill Ryder, our childhood friend, and we need to kill Torino, that guy we saved from the back of the van. So we head over to Pier 69 with Caesar, and we actually have Woozy's guys come up and help us. However, there are a bunch of dudes on the roof that are watching out for this meeting, so we must take them out before the meeting takes place and get Woozy's guys ready so that they can also help us. So we snipe some dudes off the roof and help Woozy's guys. Everyone arrives to the party except for Torino, who eventually arrives in a helicopter, and we realize that he can see the dead bodies that we've left because we sniped them all, and he alerts Ryder and T-Bone, who try to escape. We make our way down the pier shooting tons of dudes. Woozy's guys are firing. There's a lot going on. They have smoke grenades. It's a really good mission. It's so much fun, dude. Every mission, man. And so I actually snipe T-Bone through this bush where he stands still. I'm not sure why he does. But then he dies, and then we have to chase Ryder down on a boat. We have to do a drive-by on the boat to blow him up. It's a little difficult because the speed in which your boat moves is pressure sensitive at the X button. So the harder you push it, the faster you go. Well, you can't just hold it down as hard as possible and match speed. You actually have to let go just a little bit, and then you'll be going the the same speed as Ryder. So it's just like escort missions or missions where you're listening to someone walk slower than your sprint, but faster than your walk. It's exactly this. It's really hard to get the speeds right, and then you have to drive by shoot them. And it takes quite a few bullets, so you really need to drive it well. Sadly, we didn't kill Torino. His helicopter left the area. So the next mission Woozy gives us is that he found where Torino was. The van that we saved him from is now down by a helipad. We've got to go find the helipad and destroy the helicopter that he's about to leave on. And we do just that. After it leaves, we get in a car and follow it down with a rocket launcher until it finally turns around and confronts us, which is a little weird. Why would he confront us if we're trying to blow him up? Well, anyway, we blow up the chopper and he's definitely dead. CJ is a little bit torn up about his friends turning their backs on him. Obviously, it's kind of crappy that he had to kill Ryder, but Woozy does tell him that they found a warehouse where all of the stuff that Smoke, Big Smoke, because he's still alive doing shit, Big Smoke is pushing while we're gone is here. We can go destroy the factory and stop his business. Kind of a little bit of a revenge, I guess a big revenge, because we're destroying a whole factory. So we get this car rigged full of explosives, we take it into the back of the factory, arm it, and then we must leave the factory. Well, leaving isn't just enough. We have to kill all the guys on the way, and we keep getting blocked by different sets of cars, and eventually the gate. So we must use another car to jump over the top of the gate and make it home safe. Not too long after this, we get a phone call from someone using a voice changer, and he tells us to meet him out at this ranch, which when we go to, he still is using the voice changer. We don't know who this is. And he tells us the only way that he can trust us is to drive this big truck around in a certain amount of time. Apparently he needs us to do something where this is a good practice route for us to take so that we can then do whatever mission he actually wants us to do. Well, we finally get to meet the person who is using the voice changer, and it is Torino. He is not actually a drug dealer. He is a government agent doing some really crazy, shady things. And the thing he wants you to do is go steal this big tanker full of stuff. And we've got to take Caesar with us. During the conversation that CJ and Torino have for the opening mission part is actually really nice, and I don't know if this is necessarily how it was supposed to be, but in mine, the sun was just rising or just setting. I think it was just setting, and it was really pretty. Like, it just looked good based on what was going on because Torino was giving this big speech about, like, you know, doing bad to do good type thing. Anyway, Caesar and I get on a bike, and I get him close to the truck. He jumps onto it, we commandeer the vehicle, and we take it back to the ranch. Now, Torino has been pretty much threatening us, so we must now do all the things he says because he also offers something else. He knows more about our family than he's letting on. In fact, he knows a lot of shit. So we do kind of need to trust him at this point. I mean, he's going to have us killed if we don't anyway. We go back to visit Torino once again, and he has another little speech about being good, but also doing bad things. And eventually we have to grab a rocket launcher and go up to the top of this mountain in the desert area with a kind of cool vehicle. You can choose what you want. I chose the buggy. And when you get up there, you actually have to shoot down helicopters that are circling Torino's helicopter, and he has a package on it. So we've got to destroy a bunch of choppers. Once I do, I take the package back to a little kind of abandoned area way back in the desert, and then the mission's over. Things get a little more interesting when Torino tells us that we need to use our own money and go buy this little airport out in the middle of the desert. This airport is going to serve as like the base for a lot of things that I do as the game goes on, especially since I am now needing to learn how to fly the planes, all the planes in the game. In fact, this is absolutely necessary. Torino tells you there's a TV, and just like the driving courses I took, I must now take flying courses. And that's what I do. I take a bunch of flying courses, and they're pretty fun. They did a good job with the different types of maneuverability with the different types of vehicles, and you have to do a lot of stuff to get through this section of missions. I won't go over each one because they're all just, you know, take off, land, you know, pull your landing gear up, shoot some stuff, go through some rings. It's just getting used to flying. Once I'm done with the last flying mission, I am able to finally go to the last area in the game, Los Venturas, which has a lot of really fun missions, and some funny shit happens after this point. So I go to first to see Woozy. Already, Woozy is in trouble. Some of the local mafia-type families are bothering his casino business. In fact, they catch one of them who's trying to steal packages. So we tie him to the front of a car, and we must scare him because we need to learn what family he's from because we need to go punish him. Once he tells us, we return him back to the garage, and we've figured out who to go after. I really like the next mission as well. Woozy tells us that to hit this next casino up, we're going to need some firepower. To do that, we need to go collect some dynamite so that we can blow shit up. We go to this construction site that has 5 sticks of dynamite, each in boxes, and we have to use a large truck that we find down there to crush the boxes so that we can pick the dynamite up. Once we pick all of it up, we have to get on a dirt bike because they've surrounded the construction zone, so we must use the dirt bike unconventionally through different little machinery pieces and parts of this dig site to jump out of there and bring it back to someone, and they take it away and mission's done. The next mission begins with a little funny thing where Carl comes into a room with Woozy Woozy, and Woozy has the lights off. Well, he's blind, he doesn't know, so Carl asks him why he has the lights off, and Woozy says, well, I didn't know I had the lights off, but shouldn't this window let in some natural light? Well, it's a windowless room, so there's nothing there to let in natural light. So Carl just rolls with it. And what they need is they need some blueprints of the casino they want to hit, this other family, so that they know what it looks like. So Carl has to go to a building with the blueprints and take a picture of it. Well, it's illegal to do that, so he must create a diversion. So we break this heating unit and it catches on fire and it makes everyone leave the building, and we go take a picture of the blueprint, but then we still have to shoot our way out. We've got to shoot our way out and we have a 4-star wanted level. We must get back to our casino, and then the 4-star wanted level goes away when we hit the mission end. The beginning of the next mission also starts with this gem. I know you're blind, man, but you got to see this. That is just wonderful. Great dialogue. This game is just so ridiculous. I love it. So anyway, this mission is we get this card reader that's going to help us get into the casino, but we need a card to do that. So we follow someone who works at the casino home, and to do that, we need to stop at a store and dress up as a gimp, because this says some sexual stuff here. So we follow this woman home and we're trying to get her security card from her. So we go in and perform stuff with her, and then she wants to date us. So we have to date her to actually get the card, but this is not necessary to beat the game, so I don't do any more of this. However, I don't want to end it here because this mission had another unintentionally funny moment. As we follow this woman back home, we're not supposed to spook her, so we just kind of, tail her a little ways back. But she drives like shit. So badly, in fact, that she gets stuck at red lights, smashing into cars, and eventually ends up killing someone and hitting the police. And I don't know what is happening. I don't feel like any of this is absolutely necessarily going to happen every time this happens, but she drove so badly. It was so hilarious to see her killing this dude and smashing into shit. And she almost spooked herself by driving backwards into me. After this, I decided to go back and finish all of the airport missions because those are also necessary to finish the game. So the first mission I get from Torino is that I've got to fly one of these planes I learned how to fly not too long ago and make a drop. All you have to do is fly through this ring and the plane drops it. But the entire way, you must stay underneath the radar limit. The closer to the ground you are, the less likely it is for this radar to see you. So you need to fly low. And you've got to watch where you're going because there's a lot of hills and little mountains. So you've got to really watch where you're going. Seriously, I smashed into the side of hills and mountains and trees so many times. This mission took about 4 or 5 or 6 tries. I don't even know. As I come back to the airport for the next mission, these dudes pull up in a plane and some cars, and I hide behind these crates, and Torino comes up behind me and says, I don't know who these guys are, but we need to stop them. So we get on a motorcycle and drive up into the back of this airplane where we're going to plant a satchel to blow it up. This is kind of difficult getting into this thing because stuff is flying out at you. So you've got to wait till the last possible second by driving up, and then just before it takes off, get in the back of it. Once you do, we're up in the air. We've got to kill all the guys on the plane. There's about 5 or 6 of them. And once we do, we can then plant the satchel safely and then jump out of the back of the plane and use the parachute to land, and we're supposed to be safe, but I fuck up a little bit. Our next mission at the airport is not with Torino, it's with Truth, and this is a big mission. It's really fun though. So this mission is called Black Project, and what we do is we infiltrate the army base that's nearby during the nighttime, and we're supposed to sneak in. What we're doing is looking for a special object at the very bottom of this base, really far in, and the idea is for us to sneak on the base and activate these blast doors which we can go through and sneak in. But I really don't feel like sneaking. I'm just not a stealth person. I said this in 13. I'm not a stealth person. So I run in and just start killing people because you can still complete the mission by shooting a vent and going down inside. You do have to shoot everyone. I'm sure there's a way to sneak past everyone, but I don't care. I shoot everyone, which is a lot more fun for me. So we get all the way to the bottom of this base, shooting tons of military personnel in this place. And while we're doing this, we're listening to this woman over the intercom say really silly things while we're doing this. Obviously, the situation's more dire than what she's making it seem, but she's just saying the most ridiculous things. So once we get to the bottom, we get a jetpack. It's the fucking jetpack, which is a cheat. Someone actually tells me the cheat code to put in, and I put it in just to see what it is. He's like, hey, put this cheat in. I'm like, oh, I remember these. You can push a bunch of buttons to do a cheat code, and you get the jetpack. Well, now you get it legitimately, although you can't just take it and use it in missions. You can take it and explore the world and do some fun stuff. Like, you could probably do some gang missions all the way back at the beginning of the game. The jetpack just wasn't enough for Truth, so he has us go steal this green goo. We actually get to use the jetpack to fly onto this train, and as we fly up to it, there's a bunch of military personnel on it that we must shoot while flying the jetpack. This is another super fucking fun mission. They just hit it out of the park with this game, man. God damn it. So you fly around shooting this guys until you finally get to the front of the train where you get the green goo. Once you get it, you bring it back to Truth, and he says something about it being so important that you found this green goo, they'll rename this Year 0. zero. And I heard some people talking about it. I think it's really simple. Year zero, he just means that this green goo is so unbelievably important and will change the world so much that they'll want to rename everything and make it like a new, like, okay, they'll just rename this year zero because now the earth is starting, now humanity is starting type thing. I think it's really simple. I think he's just, he's just a hippie. We go back to see Woozy and we find that there are people bringing counterfeit casino chips into his casino and he's pissed. He knows it's the Sindako family, the family that we've been hounding this whole time. So he says, hey, there's a factory across town where they print these chips, go destroy it. So that's what we do. We go in and there's so many dudes. It's a big firefight. I die once and I have to redo it. So it's tough. It's a tough mission. There's lots of dudes. However, here's an interesting fact. When you're leveling up your weapons, because as you use them, you level them up, usually it's shooting people. But if the mission objective is to shoot something else, it will still count. So in this mission is the perfect mission to level up one single weapon very far. I use this to do the SMG. Every time you shoot one of the casino machines, instead of using a grenade or anything else, use a gun. You will get tons of experience. In fact, I think the gun leveled up 4 times and I got it all the way to this like high level, like Hitman level. It's totally worth it to do, and this is the mission to do it in. The Truth contacts us and says, hey, I took these 2 British guys up to the desert and did peyote or something like that, and they're up there by themselves and I woke up randomly in this hotel room. So you need to go save them. So we go to find these dudes. We have to get a 4-door car to pick them both up. One of them is a British guy, I don't know, and the other one is Kent Paul from Grand Theft Auto Vice City, one of your contacts when you're Tommy Vercetti. In fact, when we pick them up, we bring them all the way back and we find Tommy Vercetti's lawyer. That's right. We have to deal with this dude too. We can now come to the lawyer for a few missions. And this next mission has us going to get Johnny, one of the mafia family's people who is in the hospital. And actually, it's the guy that we put in the hospital, the guy we strapped to the front of the car. Yeah, we beat the shit out of him after I did that. So he's in the hospital. Some other mafia family was coming to get him. We need to return him safely for one reason or another because of the lawyer's mishaps. I'm not sure what he's doing. So we got to go get him. But the other mafia, like I said, came to get him. So we have to chase down an ambulance with him in it, crash it, get in ourselves, and bring him back to the right place, I guess. Well, now it's time to take the lawyer and go talk to Johnny himself. And when we see him, he's in a wheelchair, obviously pretty damn hurt after getting his ass beat. But then he sees us and has a heart attack because he remembers that we're the one who strapped him to the car. Has a heart attack and just dies right there. Then we get this weird little cutscene with a guy throwing a Molotov in slow motion, and we have to kill everyone at the place that we went to meet Johnny. We have to kill everyone and all witnesses. No one can know it was us. So after we kill every single person, we get Rosenberg out and we take him back to the casino. I noticed after this that I can go back and check up on Woozy. And I'm like, all right, next mission, here we go. But we go in and all we do is sign a contract with Woozy and that other triad dude to be partners in this casino. And that's it. Mission over. I decided to check out the Mad Dog mission, which we find Mad Dog, the guy that we snuck into his mansion and stole his rhyme book for OG Loke way back at the beginning of the game. He was going to be doing well as a rapper. Obviously, he had a mansion. But when we stole his rhyme book, OG Loke took over and Mad Dog couldn't remember any of the rhymes he had written. So now he's drunk on a roof, almost going to kill himself. So we get in a truck and catch him before he does. And we take him to a rehab clinic and we have to do it before he bleeds out. I don't know what they're going to do at the rehab clinic to stop him from bleeding out, but that's where we're going. The lawyer is in a bit of trouble because Salvatore Leone from Grand Theft Auto 3 is here, who is one of the families, and he's actually worried about the Forellis, which he was worried about in Grand Theft Auto 3. And they're sending over some dudes to come like fight them. Well, he wants you to kill them before they get to the island. So he wants us to take a plane, fly up, catch up to their plane, jump out, get inside the plane while it's flying, shoot them all on the plane, and then take the plane and fly it and land it. And that's exactly what we do in this very interesting little sequence. It's a lot of fun. It's just all the missions are so varied. Like I said, flavor is important, and every mission has this crazy different amount of flavor to it that just makes it fun. It's time to see Tenpenny and Pulaski again, and this time they want us to kill someone who has a dossier on all the stuff that they have done and will put both the cops away for a long time, unless we go kill them and steal the dossier. So what we do is we find these FBI agents, we shoot one from far away, he drops it, but another one picks it up. They get in a helicopter and fly away. I get in one too and chase them all the way back to Las Venturas. Once we get there, he lands and he's the only one alive. So he gets out of the chopper and just stands there while I come over and kill him and take the dossier, and the mission's over. It seems like Tenpenny's not done with us, but in reality he is. He brings us back and makes us go with him and Pulaski and the other police officer to pretty much dig his own grave. And when they're there, the other police officer that's always kind of been with them is actually a snitch. So they kill him, make CJ dig that guy's grave first, and they're gonna bury him first, and then then I think they're gonna hit, Pulaski's just gonna kill CJ. Well, that doesn't happen. Instead, the cop gets back up and tries to attack Pulaski, giving us enough time to like fight back with Pulaski himself. We must now go kill him. I've got to get in a car and chase him down. Now, I heard this mission's a little difficult, like, you know, he drives really fast, all that stuff, but Pulaski in my game immediately flips his car upon leaving the area, and I just shoot him out of my window, and the mission's over. All of about 30 seconds of his chase. Salvatore wants us to fly all the way to Liberty City, which is Grand Theft Auto 3's city. Once we get in the plane, we fly all the way back to it, and we kill Forelli and all his bodyguards. We have a huge bloody fight in some really familiar areas. In fact, I remember the area in Grand Theft Auto 3. It's the area you bring a car with a bomb attached to it back to, and when the guy gets in the car and he starts it up, it blows up. I even remember in the mission in my video that I made earlier, where I accidentally armed the bomb early and get out and it blows up because I didn't realize I needed to get back in the car and take it to a spray shop. So this place I've been to, it's so cool. They did such a great job. So we go here, kill him, and when we come back with the plane, that's the end of the mission. Kendall, CJ, and Woozy are all trying to find a new base of operations back home in Grove Street, which is great. So we get to go back there. We're actually nearing the end of the game. To do this, Mad Dog comes back and actually says, hey, I got better. I kind of want to do stuff now. And he's like, well, I have this mansion back, and it's the mansion that we snuck into before. Well, he actually lost it to a drug dealer that he owes tons of money to. So CJ is pissed and wants to take everyone back to Los Santos to get this mansion back. And it's a long ass mission where we fight all the way through this mansion, tons and tons of dudes. It's a long one and I die once in it because there's just so many guys. You've got to pick up armor and health pickups to make sure you make it, and you've really got to be careful around corners. Once we do get to the end of it, the guy who is the drug dealer gets into the car and leaves. We've got to jump into a car ourselves. There's this cute pink car here we can take, and we blow his ass up. We head back to our garage where we need to buy a property and steal a special car. This car is there to help us upgrade our own cars once we get it back to the garage. It's a nice way to help us make our cars faster and drive better, but I never really use it after this. It is absolutely not necessary, but it is fun. Directly after this, Caesar says he wants to steal 2 cars for some tech off of them, and this is a main mission as well. We have to go to this showroom where there's 2 cars at the very top floor. We both get in them and jump out the window, which is pretty cool, and they both have nitro on them. So when you press the button to use nitro, you get a huge boost of speed. So we got to follow Caesar around, avoiding the cops and avoiding pitfalls, and get these cars back to the garage. The next mission we get is from Torino and is fairly insane. We must drive a little boat over to a big boat where that boat has military jets. We must fight our way through and get a jet, fly off of the ship, and then fight a bunch of other jets that are trying to attack us. Once we destroy them, we must then destroy ships in the water with the jet we just got. And this is a long ass mission. Not only do we have to get to the jet and destroy the other jets, but then we must learn how the thrusters on the jet work so that I can hover over the water and shoot these ships appropriately. Otherwise, you have to fly past them, and it's almost impossible to lock on and shoot a missile at them in time, so you must learn how to use these thrusters. After that crazy mission, Torino finally lets Sweet out of jail. That's right, Torino's whole goal was to actually let Sweet out of jail for us if we did enough stuff for him. So he does, and we get to go pick him up. However, we get this little interesting story bit here. You see, Sweet is not happy that CJ has been doing all of this stuff. He thinks that the hood, the place they grew up on Grove Street, is the real stuff. Carl has been out in the world now after all of this shit went down, and he got to see that there's way more out there. I liken this in the stream to something like the Hobbits in Lord of the Rings, where the Hobbits are all sedentary. They don't want to leave the Shire. They're happy not going on adventures. And finally, Bilbo gets talked into going on adventures. When he does, he comes back a changed person. He's now into traveling, and he doesn't want to stay here. He feels cooped up. There was way too much outside of the Shire. Well, Sweet is the Hobbits in the Shire. He does not want to leave. He grew up there. He's been there forever. But Carl left. Not only did he leave when his brother died, and he left for 5 years, but then he left forcibly. I mean, he was forced to leave to go do a bunch of shit for everyone while Sweet was in jail. But he got such a large taste of the outside world that now he can't let it go. And Sweet tells him that he needs to come back and help the Grove Street. So Carl does. He feels indebted to Sweet, so he goes back with him. We take Sweet back to his house, but realize that our whole territory has been taken over by ballas and crack dealers. So we kill the crack dealers, and we take over our territory by killing some ballas and killing 3 waves of them. Now that Grove Street is ours again, we need to move on. Sweet is not handling all of this change very well. He's pretty upset, so he goes to do some hard drugs. Well, we stop him before he does and realize we've got to stop this guy from the earlier part of the game called B-Dub, who had some crack and stuff like that to sell. So we got to go stop him because, well, we don't want that to be here anymore, because apparently say if our gang members are doing crack, they cannot help us, and we need them to be clear-headed. So we go stop him, and that's it. The mission's over. But it's not quite enough. See, Sweet finally convinces CJ that the hood is where he needs to be, because he was born here and he's probably gonna die here. Even though CJ tries his best to convince Sweet that there's more than just the hood, it doesn't matter. He's stuck in a rut. He does not want to leave the hood. He wants this to be the thing that they do because it's all he knows. CJ knows way more than Sweet does, so he decides to stay because there's no way Sweet can let go. Our whole mission is to just take over 2 territories from the Ballas and get them back for the Grove Street families. And that's it, mission over. Mad Dog expresses his feelings about his own rhyme book, which we know where it is, in OG Loke's possession. So we go track him down by following on a boat and a go-kart, and there's just a bunch of stuff we do chasing around town until we eventually get the book back from him for Mad Dog. This is the time of the game where the whole town goes into a riot. That's because Tenpenny is gonna be put away for his crimes, finally. I mean, he's a terrible fucking cop, but there's not enough evidence to put him away, and so he is let free. Well, the town riots. Everything goes crazy. Cars are blowing up everywhere. So for the rest of the game, until the riots stop, the cars blow up, people go crazy, everyone's shooting. It's ridiculous. Before we can do anything else with the Grove Street gang during the riots, Caesar comes up and says that his gang needs help from the rival gang, and we need to help him since he helped us, which is true. So we go help him by driving around until we get enough people in our car, enough of our gang members to have a group to fight all of these guys who are suppressing Caesar's gang. And there's a bunch. They're all over the place, and eventually we fight some with a rocket launcher, and once we clear them out, we're good. We've arrived to a very interesting part of the game, and I don't find it that great. It's the one part of the game I'd say could be retooled and would be fine without. See, this whole gang territory thing in your city, Los Santos, is now coming to full effect. To get rid of the riots, we must take over a bunch of the territory for the Grove Street gang, and we must kill the Ballas, just a ton. You have to have 20 territories total for the game to move on, for the last missions. It's a lot. It takes me about an hour and a half to 2 hours of straight doing nothing but these territory wars to get enough ground going. And it's not like after about 5 or 6 or 7 of them in a row, you're like, all right, yeah, I get this. You just gotta go to the next place, find the Ballas, kill them, start a gang war, kill 3 waves, and then you get the area. And then you gotta travel to the next one. Sometimes it's hard for them to spawn on the street to start the gang war. You must kill at least 3 to start a gang war. So sometimes it takes a while and it's like, dude, where are these guys? I'm supposed to start a gang war. And eventually, we finally get 20 after, like I said, almost 2 hours of doing this. It just takes a while. Although one really interesting thing does happen, and I want to mention this because it's so cool. During one of the fights in one of the territory wars, I shoot a cop in the head who's driving his car, and then his car turns into a haunted car. That's right. Whenever I look at the car, it turns off and doesn't do anything. When I look away, it turns on and slowly follows me down this alley. Now, I don't let it do this for very long because, first of all, it's a little creepy, and second, it's in my fucking way. So I do blow it up. But it's really weird because I know that there's some other ghost cars in the game, but this one is in the middle of town after I shot the dude inside. Obviously, his dead body is driving it with its probably messed up AI at this point, but it was really creepy and kind of cool at the same time that it was following me around, so that's pretty cool. It is finally time, once we take over 20 territories, for the end of the game. Tenpenny is trying to get away after having not been put in jail, and he's hoping to start a new life somewhere else, I'm sure. And then we also find out where Smoke is. Since we've pretty much stopped all of his business and Tenpenny is pretty much done with him, he's just gonna sit in his little stronghold and wait. And so we go and assault the stronghold by taking over a big armored vehicle and smashing it into a building, fighting our way all the way to the top, tons of dudes. And then we fight Smoke himself. He has body armor on and he's pretty tough, but I just take him out quickly. I mean, some headshots from some well-placed guns that I've been leveling up the whole game makes it easy. And once we do this, he's dead, and Tenpenny comes in and takes everything that we were gonna take, all the money and stuff like that, and tries to bounce. Now, we've got to chase him out of the building. The problem is that he blows up something at the bottom of the building and everything catches on fire. So we've got to fight our way out in smoke and fire by using a fire extinguisher to extinguish our way out. Once we get down the building after fighting tons of dudes in very low vision areas, which is difficult, I'll tell you what, it took me several times to do this. Once we do, we then chase Tenpenny while Sweet hangs onto the back of this fire truck. And we're trying to stop him. Obviously, we don't want Tenpenny to make it. Well, after all of this chasing and fighting and shooting, he finally succumbs to his wounds and crashes right at Grove Street, somehow landing out of the fire truck and dying right in front of us. We've killed Smoke, we've killed Tenpenny, Pulaski is dead, Sweet's out of jail, we have a gang back together, we have a bunch of territory, and we have a casino with Woozy and a garage. We have stuff everywhere. This is the end of the game. We have finally stopped everyone who did shit to us, and we have a bunch of crap going on where we're gonna make a bunch of money and probably live better lives, even though we had to put up with a bunch of shit and do a bunch of crazy stuff. This last mission is difficult. It still isn't as difficult that is Supply Lines, only because Supply Lines just was a tough mission. But this one is much longer. There are a couple checkpoints where when you get into the building and kill Smoke, there's a checkpoint, and once you get out of the building that's on fire, there's another checkpoint. So you do have some opportunities where if you die, you can come back to the mission and start in the middle of it, which is very helpful because it's a long ass mission. And when I say that, I mean it was like a half an hour just to get to the first checkpoint. And if you lose, you've got to do all of that over again. So once you get to the checkpoint, you're safe. But until you make it there, you've got a long way ahead of you. So that's it. San Andreas, game number 50. We see credits. We did everything. This game was fantastic. I don't know what else I'm supposed to say, man. Y'all heard it. It's a great game. I can't believe it took this long, but it was so fun. This video is so long. I had such a good time doing this. I even loved recording the audio for this. It's going back through the game. It was just a really fun time. So thank you everyone for watching. I really appreciate it. I can't believe we got to halfway to 100. We'll do a special video at 100. But our next game is going to be X-Men Legends, picked by T-Roy off of Patreon. So thank you, T-Roy off Patreon, as well as thank you, Val, thank you, Delaney, and thank you, Hypervertus. And then on the YouTube membership side, thank you, Peplo, and thank you, Delaney, and thank you, everyone. If you would like to join the Discord, it's in the description. If you'd like to join any of the memberships, you're more than welcome to. All they're doing is buying PS2 games. If you want to subscribe to the channel, that would be great. I'm just glad that anyone was interested enough to watch this, and I hope you enjoyed it. I'll be back for X-Men Legends. Later!